Hello and welcome to Housing TV News at the top of the hour. Coming to you from our studios in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mary Agiobo. Our top stories. Federal government digitizes fish import licensing to boost local production. Senate moves to increase federal government share of revenue. Lagos housing shortfall persists despite over 34,000 units in pipeline. On the foreign scene, United States renews trades up to the pact with African countries. Now the news in detail. The federal government has approved the digitization of Nigeria's fish import licensing process to improve transparency and boost local production. Minister Adegboyega Oyetola directed the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture to deploy a fully automated licensing platform. The digital platform will simplify licensing, reduce bureaucratic delays, and provide real-time data on import volumes. This will help curb illegal fish imports, which undermine local aquaculture investments and halt domestic production. The reform is expected to encourage domestic production, protect local fish farmers, and strengthen Nigeria's fisheries value chain. However, the move aligns with global best practices and national food security objectives. Moving on, the Senate has begun amending the Constitution to increase the federal government's share of revenue from the Federation account. Lawmakers cite rising national responsibilities and funding constraints as reasons for the proposed change. The current revenue sharing formula gives the federal government just over half of Federation revenue, with state and local governments sharing the remainder. Meanwhile, sponsors argue that the existing formula no longer reflects the scale of central government obligations. The move has, however, sparked debate, with supporters saying a higher federal allocation will strengthen infrastructure, delivery, and national security. Critics warn it could reduce resources for state and local councils, affecting their development projects. Senator representing Delta North Senatorial District, Ned Nwoko, has announced a free JAMB registration initiative for 1,500 students across the district. The program is aimed at easing the financial burden on families and ensuring that qualified students are not denied access to tertiary education due to cost. According to the senator, beneficiaries will be drawn from communities across Delta North, covering all local government areas within the district. The initiative forms part of its broader commitment to human capital development and youth empowerment. Education advocates have, however, described the gesture as timely, especially as rising economic pressures continue to affect access to higher education for many Nigerian families. And armed bandits have killed a police officer and 4 civilians in Abande community, Kwande local government area of Benue State. The slain officer was an assistant superintendent of police attached to the police mobile force. Additional personnel, including armored vehicles, have been deployed to the area to restore calm and track down the perpetrators. The police command has expressed condolences to the victims' families and assured residents that measures are being taken to bring the perpetrators to justice. The police command also vows to prevent further attacks as security agencies work to restore peace in the affected community. And now, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke will lead the Oni of Ife, Adeyeye Ogunwusi, and the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, to inaugurate Minaret University, the faith-based university, a private institution owned by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. The university, licensed to operate, will formally invest as Vice-Chancellor Abdurrahman Abdullah. The institution aims to promote academic excellence, moral values, and peace. Leaders of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat described it as committed to these goals, adding to Osun State's growing number of private tertiary institutions. The inauguration reflects efforts to expand access to higher education, reduce pressure on public universities, and promote faith-based learning institutions with strong ethical foundations. We take a pause here, and up next, a news story from the youth sector.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa.
Welcome back. Glad to have you join us on Housing TV News at the hour. Now to the build sector. Lagos State has a housing deficit of over 2.7 million units, despite 34,000 units under development. A new report reveals most new developments cater to luxury and high-end segments, pricing out middle and low-income earners. The city's rapid urbanization and population growth exacerbates the issue. Rising construction costs, currency depreciation, and limited financing options drive developers toward premium projects with secure dollar-denominated returns. Meanwhile, this leaves affordable housing needs unmet, forcing many residents to seek alternative, often informal housing arrangements. Industry analysts, however, warn that the supply-demand gap will widen without stronger policy support for affordable housing, deepening Lagos' housing crisis. Experts call for government incentives and subsidies to encourage developers to invest in affordable housing projects. The Nigerian Railway Corporation has accused an Oyo State Local Government Council of overseeing the destruction of railway infrastructure worth millions of naira in Ibadan. The corporation alleges rail assets were vandalized and carted away along a protected corridor, disrupting railway operations and posing safety risks. The NRC identifies the affected area as a critical section of the railway network. NRC management has, however, reviewed its documenting the incident and will pursue administrative and legal measures to protect national railway assets. The corporation cites federal law violations and warns of serious consequences, emphasizing that such actions undermine national development efforts. The NRC appeals to the Oyo State government to intervene, stressing that unchecked encroachment threatens national infrastructure and public safety. The corporation seeks support to safeguard vital railway assets crucial for economic growth and transportation. The Lagos State House of Assembly has ordered an immediate halt to demolition activities in Makoko and surrounding waterfront communities. The directive follows protests and petitions from affected residents, as well as criticisms from civil society and human rights groups. Lawmakers resolved that residents whose homes and properties have already been demolished should be compensated by the state government. The Assembly pledged to monitor compliance with the directive. The state government says redevelopment plans aim to improve living conditions and infrastructure. The Assembly's intervention seeks to balance development needs with residents' rights and welfare. And on the foreign scene, the United States has renewed the African Growth and Opportunity Act, allowing eligible African countries duty-free and continued duty-free access to the United States market. The trade agreement supports exports like vehicles, textiles, agricultural produce, oil, and minerals, a key part of U.S.-Africa economic ties. The renewal benefits 48 African countries, boosting their economic growth and integration into global supply chains. The renewal ends months of uncertainty that affected exporters and workers across Africa, particularly in sectors like apparel and agriculture. Meanwhile, trade analysts said it will stabilize export industries, protect jobs, and encourage investment in beneficiary countries. Sectors like automotive and agro-processing are expected to see increased opportunities. The pact is expected to support economic growth and provide a foundation for future U.S.-Africa trade reforms. Eligible countries can continue exporting key products to the U.S. duty-free, with potential for expanded trade and investment ties. The United States and Africa will also explore ways to deepen economic cooperation and address trade barriers. And finally, William Stevenson, ex-husband of former United States First Lady Jill Biden, has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife, Linda Stevenson, found unresponsive at their Delaware home on December 28. Police responded to a domestic dispute call, but life-saving efforts failed. Stevenson was arrested and remanded in custody after failing to meet $500,000 bail. The investigation is ongoing, with authorities withholding details on the cause of the death. The case withdraws attention due to Stevenson's past connection to Joe Biden, but officials stress it's a criminal investigation. Meanwhile, Linda Stevenson was described as kind-hearted and family-oriented. That's the much we can take on Hausa TV News at the hour, but before we go, let's take a recap of our top stories. Federal government digitizes fish import licensing to boost local production. Senate moves to increase federal government share of revenue. Lagos housing shortfall persists despite over 34,000 units in pipeline. On the foreign scene, United States renews trade subsidy tax with African countries. For more news on housing sector, subscribe to Housing TV Africa on YouTube and follow Housing TV on all social media platforms. Download the Housing TV Africa mobile app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Many thanks for watching. I am Mary Agiobo. Bye for now.